Hello, and welcome back to Strange Stories with the Seeker and the Skeptic. In today's episode, we talk with James Burnette, who is a paranormal investigator and the founder of 13 Paranormal, an investigative group that goes to different haunted locations and sometimes helps people who are experiencing paranormal phenomenon and investigates and kind of gives them some information about what might be happening in their home. In this episode, we talk about his history with the paranormal, how he got into investigating, and just his thoughts and theories about all things ghosts and spirits. So it was a very fun conversation, and we hope that you enjoy it. Hi, James. Thanks for being here with us today.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So I always like to start from like the very beginning. So tell us where your interest with the paranormal started.
I gotta say, it probably started at a young age. What happened was I was told ghost stories when I was younger about. There was an incident when I was probably, I want to say, around 2 or 3 years old, where my crib was underneath a light fixture. And for some odd reason, the light fixture fell and it ended up in my crib, but there was no way that it wouldn't have hit me. And somehow it just like ended up in my crib without it laying a finger on me.
Wow.
So something was watching over me that day. And then okay, let me set this up for you. When I was about the same age, I had an imaginary friend that I called my other dad. And I had a bad tendency of letting people in our house while my parents were asleep or they were out doing something. So one day my mom was actually taking a nap, and I was in the living room talking to somebody. My mom came in kind of upset with me already because she thought I let someone in her house while she was asleep. Come to find out, there was no one there, that I was talking to myself. And she asked me who I was talking to, and I said my other dad. And what really creeps her out, and it creeped my dad out, is that we went to a bank one time. I was in the back seat. My dad went in, and there was a guy that came out of the bank, and I told my mom that, hey, Mom, you see that man that just came out? That's what my other dad looked like. And what really creeped my mom out and my dad is that when he got back to the car, my dad said, hey, did you see that guy that came out? He kind of looked a lot like my dad did.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. So everybody believes that I might have been talking to my grandfather, which he already passed by the time I was born, so I never actually knew him or really had an idea of what he looked like until I got older.
Yeah. Now, so this happened when you were really little. How much do you remember this now as an adult, or these kind of memories like your mom shared with you or your parents have shared?
I remember having conversations, but I don't remember anyone being there. The event at the bank, I don't remember vividly, but I remember telling her that.
Interesting.
Yeah.
At what age do you feel like that stopped? Or has it stopped?
I would like to say it probably stopped about when I hit about 7. About the time I started going to school and all is when it stopped for me.
How did each of your parents react to like you saying, I'm talking to my other dad, or, that kind of thing?
My mom believed me more than my dad did. My dad, he was straight going to church, and he never believed in any of the things outside of what the Bible said.
Mm-hmm.
But my mom actually took it to heart to where she actually believed or was more open to what I was saying was factual, or
Okay.
she thought there was something more going on because uh, she said the way I was talking to somebody, it just did not seem like it was like I was having a full blown
Mm-hmm.
conversations with no one around.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So
And
was
she
it?
said it was like so. Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead. You're good.
And she said it was like someone was responding to, but she just couldn't hear them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, you hear that a lot with little kids, having
Yeah.
seeing more, experiencing more, so as you're a paranormal investigator now, what theories do you have about that? Like about why maybe kids are a little bit more
I
attuned or
Yeah. I actually started to hear this when I was actually investigating more. Is that it's the child's perception, because as we grow up, we keep getting told that these things don't exist. So in the back of our mind, we get it to where it's actually to the point where it's ingrained in us,
Mhm,
because when we're young, we're open to the ideas, or we're not told that these things don't exist. So I think it's more like how they say animals can perceive things that we can't.
mhm,
I think it's almost the same way for a child. It's just as the child grows up, and the parents are on them saying it's your imagination, you start to believe that. So you start to lose it as you get older as well.
yeah,
Maybe it just kind of gets caught out of us in a way.
Yeah, I mean, even as an investigator, um, going to a haunted location, there's been times where I've know something strange has happened, but I'm so dismissive of it. Which, I mean, I know you're not supposed to, and I shouldn't be admitting this, but I mean, it's just like you're the thing in the back of your mind still there, to where it's just like it's got to be something else, something logical. But then when you go back and watch it on replay, then you're like, oh, why didn't I respond to that, or why didn't I see that, or do more to it in the moment? Because you're going back, and that's when all the chills start to happen.
mm,
Is that you actually noticing that this is not normal? I'm in this situation where I'm just dismissing it.
mhm. Yeah, I feel like having some healthy skepticism as an investigator probably is beneficial,
Mhm.
right? Like you're not always going toward, of course, like it's paranormal or something, but
Right.
it seems like maybe there's a little bit of a fine line between like dismissing it and believing everything is a ghost.
Right.
Yeah. So you said that you took a parapsychology class in 2004. So I'm very curious, like,
Mhm.
where did you take this class? And like what was like
Uh,
the focus of it?
yeah, it was at Virginia Western Community College. The
Really?
teacher was named Debbie Carville. Carville, I can't pronounce the last name, but she was actually on an episode of Sightings, and it was actually for people that's around the Southwest Virginia would know, the Avenel House was actually they were doing a segment on it, and she was actually presenting in that episode. And the class itself is what I found interesting. It was called Ghost of Virginia, and it was part of her parapsychology class. And we actually went around to different parts of around the Southwest Virginia, places that are known to be haunted. And some of the best things that I've caught, I wish I still had, um, was in that class. Like not just orbs, but I know people are kind of iffy on orbs, but there was a picture that I took of a in the raptors, and it looked like one big eye was just staring down at
Ooh,
me.
wow. That's creepy.
Yes.
That sounds
Um,
like a really cool class. Like, what an opportunity. I've never heard of another college, or I mean, I'm sure there are other places, but that's really cool that you were able to take that.
I really did enjoy it. I mean, I'm sad that because I think because I initially took it as an elective credit, and I was wanting to go back and do more with that class, but she ended up retiring, and I think she ended up going to Virginia Beach
Mm.
for her retirement. So I mean, I'm glad she was able to. So
Yeah. Nice place to retire.
oh yes.
Yeah, what's funny to me about like the whole orb things is a lot of times, you can kind of be like, well, these are clearly bugs and these are dust motes and these are this or that. But there are times when people have pictures like that with those things that you can't, like through like digital archaeology, you kind of can't rule those things out, which is interesting to
Right.
me. As time has gone, whenever digital photography started to become super cheap, basically, and became accessible, I kind of assumed that those types of things would just go away because how
Mm-hmm.
much of them are things like motes of dust. But it's interesting that that still continues to show up in that way here and there.
Yeah. I mean, there's a couple of things a lot of people will debate about too. Is like, well, if you do capture an orb, is it paranormal or is it just your camera or whatever's capturing energy?
Hmm.
Which they said you can actually, capture orbs in a place that's not haunted, and it's just you're capturing the energy. In a lot of places, if you ever took like pictures near like a body of water, you'll notice like a lot of energy, well, orbs in that photo as well. Like
Okay.
it's too much just to be dirt floating around. So
Hmm.
it's the we believe it's the moving energy that's causing the orb activity near a body of water, which if you think about it, like a lot of these like hot springs or natural springs are very active.
That's interesting. I mean, that makes sense in my brain. I'm not a science person by any stretch of the imagination. I just know, like,
Mhm.
personally, me as a very sensitive to energy. Like, I know how I feel around a body of water, and
Right.
it definitely is very like highly charged.
Yeah. Which I know, like going back to the natural springs, like with I mean, at one point, people believed that the natural spring water would actually heal people. So, I mean,
Mhm.
and what was it? Dowsing rods were
Mhm.
actually used to find bodies of
Yeah.
water. So, I mean, if anything, that I think that backs up the dowsing rod, theories a little bit
Hmm.
further because it's searching for energy. So, when people would use it in the paranormal field, pretty much using it for the same source or
Yeah.
reason.
I have a friend whose well was dug in the early 1980s in Southwest Virginia,
Mhm.
and the way they found the side of the well was with dust,
Yeah.
straight up. Like that is a thing that they paid somebody to come in who they were old in the 80s and paid
Mhm.
somebody like I think it was like $40 in a bottle of whiskey or something. And the person found a site for the well, and in 2026 that well is still going strong. So
Oh, I
there's
believe it.
something to it. I mean, I can't I guess luck's possible, but I mean this is 40 some odd years later and it's still going. So
Yeah. Well, I mean, when I first started off, I mean, that was because I mean, I did watch like some of the earlier shows before, like it got real popular later on. I'm talking about like it was the MTV show Fear, and then there was one that came on. Used to be the Family Network. Had like families that would go into haunted locations and stuff like that,
Okay.
and in my first pieces of equipment was it's a lot of trial and error, but it was like the Ghost Hunters Handbook that I read, and then dowsing rods, which I played around with them, and I thought that they were kind of neat because every time when I used them, um, it, they actually did cross between like high EMF fields within the house that I was using. And later on, when I got the EMF meter that I had was a digital one, and come to find out, every place that them dowsing rod cross had an high EMF field, which it was near like the electrical box and near the heater system that the house had. So I mean, it was natural. I mean, it wasn't nothing paranormal. It was just natural electricity coming from the house. So I thought that was kind of cool that that the EMF meter was matching what the dowsing rods were showing up as.
Yeah. Have there been investigations that you've done where people thought they were having paranormal experiences and come to find out it was like high EMF levels? Yeah, that's something that's happened.
Yeah, especially like the older parts of Roanoke, Virginia. It's I tell people all the time, unless you crack open your house to do renovations or anything, your house is going to have original wiring. So it's going to whatever year your house was built up, that's the original wiring. So in guaranteed it's not up to code. So a lot of these older houses are having that issue of high EMF leaks. And if you're really sensitive to it, you're worse off because it could cause paranoia, can cause a rash, can make you not feel well. It's not as severe as carbon monoxide poisoning, but it's pretty bad still. Which, believe it or not, that isn't actually a good tool to take with you on some investigations too, is a carbon monoxide detector, because if a house does have carbon monoxide, you can almost have the same things happen where you're seeing stuff, paranoia and things of that nature. So, I mean, it's good to try to get the process of elimination out before you jump into saying, oh, no, they might actually do have paranormal activity, because I've actually had people, I feel so sorry for them, but I had no other choice. But I did a client investigation and I caught 3 EVPs and I played it for them. And they said that was enough for them to move out.
Wow.
They just didn't want to mess with it at all, huh?
Didn't. I mean, I didn't even, because I was like, listen, we don't know what we're dealing with. I mean, it could be something, that's residual to not even know that you're there or anything like that. We don't, but it was just like a couple of voices that we played for him. And the guy, the husband, didn't want to listen to. He listened to one, and the other 2, he didn't even want to listen to any of them after that. The wife actually listened to all 3 voices that we caught. And be honest with you, I can't remember if it was responding to our questions, but I just remember capturing them, and that was enough for them to be like, we're done. They put their house on the market like a couple weeks later.
Wow. I mean, I understand that people have different levels of comfort, and that obviously for them was like way outside of the comfort zone. But yeah, that's a major life decision for a couple of EVPs.
Yeah, and that's why I tell everybody that works with us, whenever we do a client investigation, be very careful on what you say in front of the clients, because they're already scared, and that's why we're there in the first place.
Right.
So you don't want to add into some of their experiences and them feeding off of what we experience. So, try to be as professional and level-headed as possible, especially if they're around.
Yeah. You don't want to show that you're afraid. Or
exactly.
Build that up for them. Yeah.
Yes.
So tell us, how did you? So you took the parapsychology class. That sounds awesome. How did you end up getting into doing your own investigations?
I started off with a couple friends of mine, and they we did everything that you shouldn't be doing. So I'm ratting myself out, but we did do the going into cemeteries at night and in the in the abandoned houses, and then uh, I guess it was more thrill seeking. But then I met another guy. His name was Mike Sinclair, and we did it a little bit, but then we was like, you know what, we want to actually help people out. So let's refrain from doing these cemeteries and abandoned buildings, and let's see if we can actually start helping people out. And so me and him created a Viper Paranormal, and that's when we actually started taking it more serious. And I think by this time we were getting a good idea of how to do things, because we were, like I said, it was a lot of trial and error that we learned, because there you could read all the books you want to, unless you actually get out in the field and try and see what works. That's when you actually learn what works for you, because everybody has their own style and techniques. Like there's a lot of people that doesn't like running a lot of equipment. They just like going there and using their gut feelings, and then they'll take a picture or something, or ask the right question at the right time, and then they'll capture it. And then you'll have people that runs the equipment all night long and actually will get it, but then they're having to use up more batteries, to say the least.
Right.
Yeah.
So how do you approach investigations now?
I try to go in with a skeptic mind, but also keep an open mind as well. So I'm not going to rush into it saying it's paranormal. I'm going to see if I could find an actual source first, or an explanation first. But if I can't find one, then I'm going to be left to say, well, it is going to be something out of the normal.
Mm-hmm. What kind of equipment do you use now?
We use REM pods, EMF meters, camcorders with the night vision on them, with the IR lights, and then a DVR system. So we can monitor. What we normally use the DVR system for is to keep an eye on the locations that has the most activity, and then it also keeps track of where everybody's at as well.
Okay. What was the first thing you named? REM pods? I've never heard of that before.
Yeah, it's it's like a circular disc, and then it has an antenna that comes out, and then it emits an EMF field. So if something breaks that field, it'll light up.
Okay.
And then also it has a temperature on it too. So if it drops 5 degrees or below, drops 5 degrees or more, it lights up as well.
Okay. Interesting.
And my newest favorite toy has been the Zoom recorder. I love that thing. It's a recorder that has real high sensitivity. I have headphones that I plug into it, so I could listen to real time EVP. So if we ask it a question, and then you can actually hear something come back on it. Got to use it at the Avenel house, and it's crazy, because the guy was doing the knocking, and he went, and then I heard on the recording, really faint, you could actually hear, and then I freaked out. I was like, oh my God, people, did you hear that? But to be fair, it's been a while since before that investigation. It was a while. I went through 2 ankle replacements. So it was a while before I did an investigation.
Yeah. So you're a little out of practice.
I was a little rusty. Yeah.
It's pretty awesome to come across something your first time back into it, though. That's very cool.
I tell you, that place, that was actually one of the places that we went to in the parapsychology class, and I've never had that place disappoint me.
Where is that at? What is the Avenel House? That's what it's called.
The Avenel House. It's in Bedford.
Okay. So
What's the
still
history with that house?
Virginia.
It's used to be a plantation, and you wouldn't know it now, because it's in like a nice neighborhood. A lot of it's been built around it, and I think the original barn is there. And there was I just recently told that this wasn't true, but there was talks of a lady in white that they've seen on the premises. I cannot remember her name right now, but I know she was. The story goes is that she was waiting for her. I think her fiance to come back from the Civil War, and his name was. I know he was a captain in the Confederate Army.
Well, whether there's original story behind that or not, it wouldn't surprise me if having those stories could cause people to see things. I think sometimes things kind
Yeah.
of make themselves up, and then
Right.
you got something in front of you.
Right.
What are your theories about, like, I know you mentioned like there's different types of haunting. So there's like a residual
Mhm.
type of haunting, some that are more conscious. Like, do you have any theories about like why some places are more haunted than others? Why some people like that tape keeps replaying? Any theories about that?
I know one of the big theories with the residual is limestone actually absorbs energy. So a lot of places that are built on limestone or that's around it, it kind of like takes the energy from people and just kind of does a playback. As
Interesting.
for intelligence, I think my personal, it's a couple reasons. It's either that they don't know that they have passed, they don't want to move on for some reason, or they just are just too attached to where they're at to leave. Um, which I kind of like this. This is a new theory that I just recently heard about, which I think this has been around a while though. Is that the theory of the multiverse? They're saying that what we're seeing now is maybe like pockets into a different universe that is not while we're seeing these spirits or whatever. It's just we might be peering into the like a different type of universe because time is not going the same wavelength. So we're in 2026. Well, maybe we're seeing a window into a different universe in say like 1847.
Mm.
Because the expansion would be not only the dimensions would be creating different universes, but when they're created, they're going to be creating different times as well.
Yeah. I mean, I've heard people talk about like how we perceive time as being very linear, but time is actually like all happening at the same time. And so,
Right.
I mean, that kind of fits with that theory a little bit of like you're just kind of having a glimpse into a different dimension, different timeline, different universe, whatever you want to call it. But I mean, that's an interesting theory. Like the veil is kind of thin between the different, dimensions. Yeah.
And it's I mean, to add into that too, that's why a lot of people think that with the Mandela effect, that a lot of these people that has the false memories, that somewhere along the timeline we actually jump somewhere um, to where all these people have these false memories. Like the big one was like the Monopoly guy with the monocle, which he never did have one, which thousands of people remember him having.
Yeah. Or the cornucopia for Fruit of the Loom.
Yeah.
They say that never existed, but I remember it.
Yeah.
I mean,
I'm a jumper.
I think that I remember it as well. And that's one that, and like I really have memories of watching Nelson Mandela's funeral in the 90s on television,
Mm-hmm.
and then being very confused, like 8 or 9 years later when he was released from prison, still very much alive. And
Right.
like, I mean, and then to me, like the problem is a lot of people who, like, I can admit that I'm wrong about stuff. I'm wrong about stuff all the time. And sometimes I'm just wrong about things. And I think there's a lot of people who buy in strongly on the Mandela effect are people who just can't admit that they're wrong about some things. So you kind of have to take
Right.
some of those with a grain of salt, I think.
Yeah, but when
It's
there's
like,
so many people saying the same thing, I mean,
well, that's why you just pick and choose the ones that make sense, because it can't be every. I don't think it can be everything and everyone. I just that's just me.
Oh, I had this interesting conversation with a guy when I was at the Comic Con in Withville. This was sometime last year. Me and him were talking about how we were both remembered Jiffy peanut butter, and I was like, wasn't it? And I was asking him, wasn't it around 94, 95 when they actually dropped the Jiffy and just started calling it Jif? And he remembers that as well. So, but you talk to the company or look up the research, and it's always been Jif.
interesting.
Yeah,
I'm now
because
like questioning my memory.
because I told him it seems like around 94, 95 when they were doing all this rebranding, like how Pepsi was going to go with the losing the red, white, and blue and just going with the blue. It seemed like that's about the time Jiffy started to change its name to Jif, because they were doing the whole rebrand too. And I think I remember it being like a 90s thing where they were trying to make everything more modern at the time.
Mhm.
Yeah, a ton of companies did that. Like Doritos rebranded themselves about that time. Like
Mm-hmm.
that's when they changed all their bags, and people got really weird about it. It's funny how certain brands people have kind of identify with, maybe, or something, and then they make a change, and people are just like, "Why are you changing? Why are you changing my world? What are you doing this? Why are you doing this to me?" But I definitely have. You're not the first person I've heard say the Jif versus Jiffy thing. So
Mm-hmm.
I don't think you're alone there, for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
interesting. So, in your investigations, is there any like experiences that really stand out as being like, wow, this was wild. I can't believe this happened. Anything like that for you?
Couple of them. It was my first time going to St. Albans Sanitarium, and I think it's Pulaski, but it's near Radford, uh, and it was right in front of the suicide bathroom where there was three nurses that killed themselves.
Whoa.
Uh, yeah, it was a tragic story where they were using St. Albans as a actual hospital, because at the time the closest hospital was Roanoke, and Radford was the only place that could provide treatment for the New River at the time. So I think, if I remember right, for like every one nurse, they had like 20, 30 patients. So it was just,
Wow.
I guess it just became so stressful at the time, because I mean, you hear other like mental health facilities at the time were doing the same thing, and it was just got too rough on them. But anyways, so what happened to me in front of the that bathroom was my camera it had 50% battery left, and it just died on me. And I was trying to figure out what happened, because that battery drain shouldn't have happened, because I just didn't use it that much. But the infrared light was still on, but the camera wouldn't cut back on. So I was setting it down on the ground, and I looked up, and there was a doorway, and it looked like there was a 6-foot shadow figure right in front of me. And I got up and By the time I was sitting in one of them camping chairs, and by the time I got up and got to the doorway, I just saw something that looked like it went down a set of stairs. I didn't say anything with anybody behind me, with the investigators that were with me, but they said, "You saw that too, didn't you?" And I was like, "What'd you see?" And they said, "There was a shadow figure right in front of where you're standing." And I was like, "Is that why you got up?" And I said, "Yeah." Because I
Whoa.
thought my eyes were playing tricks on me because I was looking at my LCD screen on my camcorder, and it just died, and that's when I looked up and saw it. Um, the other thing is that, and I still can't explain this. I was at a client's house, and we had a set of investigators that were around a coffee table, and they were you could see them on camera. I had them on a DVR system that night, and the next thing I know, I saw them coming up the stairs kind of quickly, and I was trying to find out what was going on. My brother was with the first group that went down there, and I asked him what happened, and he said, "Dude, the coffee table moved on its own."
Mm.
And I was like, "Wait, what?" And he said, "Yeah, the coffee table moved on its own." And I said, "What happened?" And because the client said that they saw a little girl by the washer and dryer, so I completely didn't even have enough a good camera angle for the coffee table. I didn't even think about moving it, but I was like, "Well, how did it do? Did someone kick it or anything?" And he said, "No. One of the investigators said that they had a child, and he was going to bring them over to play with the little girl, and then the coffee table moved." And I was like, "Okay, I got to try this out, and I got to see for myself." So I took it was myself and two other fresh investigators, and then two people that was with the group before. So we all sat around the coffee table, and I played around the coffee table just to see how easy it was to move the coffee table. Sure enough, I mean it weighed a good amount. I mean, it was solid wood, so it would take a lot of force to actually move it. So we started asking questions, and the person before that had said that they were going to bring their kid to play with the little girl. As soon as he said it, that coffee table had it lifted up off the ground like maybe an inch, and then came back down.
Wow.
And I thought for sure someone might have kicked it, but my foot was underneath it. It was my leg did not touch it because it was bent at an angle to where it was underneath it, but I felt it come back down.
Mm-hmm.
And I looked at everybody's foot, and no one's foot was around the coffee table. There was a couple of people that actually had their legs on they're seated sideways, so their legs were kind of like on the seats. So
Mm-hmm.
there was no one that kicked it, and I cannot explain it. I mean, I even went to see if there was any like tremors or anything that happened that
Mm-hmm.
night, because I was like, there's had to have been something to it, and there was nothing there that would cause any type of shaker or movement for that something that heavy to be lifted up that much.
Wow. That's wild.
Yeah.
And crazy that it happened twice too, you know. I
Yeah.
mean, that's like a lot of, if we're to believe that was a ghost, like that's using a lot of energy.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
So as you do these investigations, you go to these places. Have you found through this that there's like a number of people that's kind of the sweet spot, like but this is how many people I want for this, or
It definitely depends on the size of the location. Like client investigations, I like to keep it small. I'll do about 2 to 4 people normally. So mainly because I don't like anyone to go off on their own because of safety reasons.
Sure.
Because I don't want someone to go, go into a room by themselves and then they freak out, and then the closest person is with them is like downstairs in the next room. So if they're freaked out, I want someone that's like within shouting distance, because uh, that was one of the reasons. And then if you have someone that's near you or with you, then they can possibly back up a personal experience that you may have.
Yep.
So with client investigations, yeah, I like to keep it about 2 to 4 people, kind of rotate in different areas to see if we could get personal experiences that matches up. Now with the like St. Albans, that place it's a lot bigger than what you might see from photos and all, because you're talking about a basement, you're talking about different types of levels, that I could get up to like 8 people and 8 to 10 people and not run into not a single other person. Definitely comes in handy having walkies with locations like that.
Yeah. Is there a reason why investigations are done at night usually?
I personally, the way I found it a lot easier to do it at night. It's not because it's creepy or anything. It's mainly because everything's more calm at night. So you got less traffic. People were, winding down from the day. So you're going to be having a lot more people watching television. It's just more relaxed, less cars being parked and lights going on. So at night, that's when we like to do it, because everything's, starting to calm down, and, less dogs barking too. I mean, a lot of times when we do investigating, what we do is we tag our audio. So when we go back and listen to it on replay, we know who's making what sound, and it's not coming from one of us. So
Right.
if there's a sound that comes on audio and it's not been tagged by anybody that was running the recording, then it's something that we look into.
Another thing that you had mentioned when answering kind of our questions was something called the Octagon Mansion in Withville.
Yes.
What is that, and what happened?
Oh, this place! I'm so sad that it's not able to be investigated anymore. But the gentleman that ran it, he was renovating it as a Civil War museum, and we were the second group to ever investigate that place, and we went there several times. Even during the pandemic, we went there a couple times, and the time that really sticks out is we did it right before the world largest ghost hunt ended. The last year that they did it, we went to the Octagon Mansion, and there was the story behind it was that there was a particular room where they did what was called dinner with the ghosts. So they had like a lot of trigger objects and all to try to get the spirits to come, while they eat dinner and all. And while we were investigating that room, the owner said that if you play Aerosmith's "Dude That Looks Like a Lady," it will make the preacher that used to preach at the church. He used to live at the mansion, and his church was just down the street. So he would just walk across the street to the church, but he did not like that song. So I played it for the world during the world's largest ghost hunt, and after it ended, I don't know, it was just something in the atmosphere that got really heavy, and it made 2 of our investigators want to leave the room. And you hear on the recording, they said, "Okay, we're ready to leave." You hear it sounds like a little girl's voice that says, "They're coming."
Mm, that's ominous.
Yeah, yeah. It's not the preacher, but I mean,
Yeah.
it was interesting that little girl's voice that came out of nowhere that said
Yeah.
that, because they were talking about leaving the room. So,
Yeah.
and to get the voice that says they're coming right after that,
Yeah.
and that was interesting.
That is very interesting.
So that makes me want to add a question to every interview we ever do from now on. What song do you hate enough that's going to make you haunt someone?
I gotta say, for me, it'd be anything by Cedar.
That's fair. That's I think that's pretty reasonable. I think I would have to go with some Nickelback song or another, personally.
Oh, there you go. Speaking about the music too, I've never had this happen, but and I tried. They said at St. Albans, the janitor that haunts the basement, they said that he loved Johnny Cash, and if you play Johnny Cash for him in the basement, that it's supposed to stir him up some. And all the times, I mean, I love Johnny, but I mean, I've never had the janitor to come out for him, and I played him for him.
You know, I actually have a music based experience that I don't know that I've talked about on the podcast. Brittany, have I even told you about a music based
I don't think
experience I had?
so. No.
When I was 20, so like 25 years ago, I was visiting my parents. They lived in coastal North Carolina on the mainland side of the Outer Banks. They were living in a house that it was a parsonage, which for people who don't know, it's basically a house that's owned by a church so that the pastor doesn't have to pay rent somewhere. But for 100 years before that, it was a mortuary, and the embalmer would live above in the top floor of the house. So it was about a 120-year-old house at the time. It was an interesting house. It was held together with pegs instead of nails. It's an old place. And I was visiting my family. I was away at college, and they had gone to the store or something. I just didn't feel like going. I was hanging around the house, and I put on, at the time, I liked the Grateful Dead a fair amount. And so I put on a Grateful Dead album, and the song Friend of the Devil by the Grateful Dead started playing. And I was singing along, and they had been gone. This is a town so small it takes 20 minutes to get to the grocery store. Like, it is a very, very small town. And they've been gone about half an hour. So they probably were at the store at this point. This is before easy access to cell phones. So I don't have any real idea where they were exactly, but I was definitely alone in the house. And it was a two-story house, and I was on the main floor in the living room listening to this song, kind of singing along, just doing whatever. And I hear a footstep, like a booted footstep on the sound, like from coming up from upstairs coming downstairs, and then another one, and then another one, and it seemed like it was going closer and closer to the bottom of the stairs. So I walk into like the little entry area and look at the stairs, and there's nobody there. There's nobody on the stairs, but the song's still playing in the background, and the footsteps, the boot steps, are still going down, down, down. And eventually the last one was two footfalls right in front of me at the bottom of the stairs. And then the song ended.
Weird.
Yeah. I always thought it was weird.
Yeah.
I can't explain that.
Yeah.
I've actually, I don't know if this is true or not, but I mean, it's come through my TikTok algorithm a lot. There's an investigator that keeps popping up, and he's been playing music at these locations, that he's been investigating, and it's like pop music. And he's like, "Well, if you want me to turn this off, make a noise or something." And he's like playing Taylor Swift and Britney Spears, and sure enough, they're making like really loud sounds. I don't know if he's like, I mean, I haven't done any research on him, but I mean, from the videos that I've seen, I mean, it's pretty convincing if he's doing it by himself, you know, and going into these locations and these things are actually happening.
Mm-hmm. Wild. Do you ever work with like mediums on investigations or no?
I have, and I mean, I don't turn them away or anything like that.
Mhm.
I actually find them to be useful because I mean, I've always liked the idea if a medium or someone that's sensitive comes up with like a name or an age or a location, and it actually comes up in our research, like because we do full historic research after we investigate the location to try to get try to back up some of the events or try to see what we could find on our own. If they're coming up with the same information, I mean that only, my opinion, that only proves on what they were saying in the first place.
Yeah, definitely. It's like another level of confirmation.
Exactly right.
Yeah. I kind of want you to talk to us like say there's people out here who are listening who are like interested in starting to do investigations.
Mhm.
What would your advice be for them? What would be some like do's and don'ts when approaching the paranormal?
Definitely do not um, don't watch these TV shows or the people on YouTube or TikTok or whatever, and try to copy what they do. Um, Actually, talk to somebody that's actually done it. Do your research. Google. Actually, talk to investigators. See how long they've been doing it. Maybe take myself, I probably read like 3 or 4 handbooks on how to investigate the paranormal. And every single one of them was different. That's why I said it was like a lot of trial and error, because what you see from the TV shows and the videos, it's nothing like what it really is, because there's so much that goes into it. With our client investigations, like I think it was ghost hunters back in the day, where that was the go-to for a lot of people. And you see the ghost hunters go into a client location, and it was one and done. That's far from it, because we actually stick with clients until they either want to move or they feel comfortable enough to they don't need us anymore. So it's not. It's a constant communication with clients. It's
Mhm.
nothing like what they see on any television or YouTube program.
Mhm. Are there any things that you see in those shows that you're like, that's I would not do that. That's not a good idea.
Going off on your own is one of them,
Mhm.
because I mean that in not using proper lighting or just using like infrared cameras to see where you're going, because this actually happened to me. I actually had a infrared camcorder, and I couldn't really see where I was going, and I was uh, at a location my first time, and I missed like 2 steps, so I kind of like tumbled really hardly.
Mhm.
Um, I mean, it's really good to have someone with you and make sure that you can see.
Yeah.
I know it. I know a lot of people wants to try to do their investigations completely in dark sometimes, but you got to really consider your safety in it first.
Definitely.
Um, Also, another thing is to try not to be all excited when something does happen. I mean, I'm guilty of this myself.
Mhm.
Like I said, the last investigation I was on, I got a little excited, but you know, you it's you got to think you were talking to somebody that was once alive at one point. So it's just it's like having a conversation with somebody. So don't be shocked if you ask it something and something does happen.
Mhm.
You got to be prepared for it.
Mhm. Yeah. I mean, it sounds too like you have a very respectful approach to interacting
Yes.
with them, and I appreciate that because you do see in some of those shows with very famous paranormal investigators where they're instigating but in a like a negative way. Like I like, using the trigger objects that make sense, or like songs and stuff like that, but you see sometimes kind of them like, insulting ghosts and trying to get a reaction out of them.
Right.
That's just never sat right with me, because you're right. Like they have lived before too. They deserve to be respected.
I've never been big on provoking. I mean, I mean, you still see a lot of people on YouTube and on TikTok, does the lives and all their, that's like their really big go-to. But I'm not a big fan of it. I mean, the way I do it, and like I said, everybody has their own approach, but I like, and it's worked for me. It's just like having a conversation with somebody. So that's how I do my EVP work. I'd just be like, "Hi, my name's James. What's your name?"
Mm-hmm.
Something like that.
Yeah, I like that.
Through doing all of this, and through like just the years of experience of obviously having results in some of these areas, have you ever come across a situation where afterwards you were like, well, that's definitely a thing that happened, and also that's definitely a thing that I don't feel like was once a human, like anything other than what you would call possibly a ghost, maybe?
I, I never came across anything that I felt was inhuman. I have had dreams, like really vivid dreams of this happening to me at the Octagon Mansion. They let you spend the night, and I was in the basement there, and if I felt I was sleeping hard on the couch that they had, and I just and it's hard to describe it, but it was like I woke up in the dream, and there was a man just like in a old timey outfit that was staring at me, and just was like really staring down at me hard. And then I just remember waking up, and I was almost like reliving that same situation, but he wasn't there when I woke up.
Interesting. But yeah, maybe presented himself to you while you were sleeping.
Yeah. I mean, you hear people talk about sleep paralysis and all, and it's just like, I know I couldn't move.
Mm-hmm.
Even after I did fully wake up, it was just like something was pinning me down.
Oh, wow. Yeah, sleep paralysis is scary. I've had it a few times in my life, and it is scary. I know, Jonathan, you experienced that a lot.
When I was younger, fortunately, I haven't had to deal with it in a very long time. Hopefully, we'll continue to not have to deal with that. Oh, don't miss that.
So tell us a little bit about 13 Paranormal.
So I mentioned Mike earlier. So me and him, we had a difference of opinion. So I ended up breaking off, and I ended up starting a group called Research Society Virginia Paranormal, which had a lot of success with that. But we found out that he wasn't staying in Virginia a lot. So we were actually ended up in Tennessee and North Carolina, and me and some other members of the group we were talking, and I was like, we're not really, staying in Virginia that much, and we probably need a name to kind of broaden it, and to let people know that we're not only in Virginia, because we've been investigating these other states, and I think we needed another name change. And there were several people that came out with different names, and I was like, I think I originally thought of 13 because um, of the 13 original colonies. And then I was like, since we're in Virginia, and we do a lot of the original 13 colonies. Why don't we go with 13? And then someone said, "Oh, you had to pick the worst, unluckiest number, didn't you?" I was like, "Well, I mean, the reason behind 13 is actually pretty interesting too, because I mean, for the longest time, people would avoid having floors that were numbered 13.
Yeah.
So I was just like, I think this will work."
Yeah, I think 13 gets a bad rap, unfortunately.
Yeah.
That's so do you like accept new people, like if they're interested in joining investigations? Like how would that work if somebody was interested in joining the group?
Oh yeah. Because I found it easier to try to educate people the right way, because I cannot count how many times we have lost locations because I don't want to say they're amateurs or anything, but people that don't really, they're in it for the thrill is what I'll say. They just want the experience.
Mm-hmm.
So the people that are in it for the experience, I mean, I have no problem in teaching them the basics and taking them to a location so they can get a good start to learning, because then I know they're doing it right. Because we've had so many locations that we've lost because people have trashed it after they left and not cleaned up after themselves. They set things up the way they're trying to. Well, not putting things back is what I'm trying to get to. So I found it, if we teach them, bring them in, teach them the basics. If they want to stay with us afterwards, great. We'll keep you on. We'll make sure that we can rotate you in and out on investigations. But if you want to, find someone else or start your own thing, more than welcome to as well.
That's awesome that you take the time to educate people and kind of show them the ropes.
Yeah.
So on the client side, are you like accepting new clients? Like how would people reach you if they wanted to have like their home investigated?
So we're on pretty much all social media. The website should be back up soon. We got some things in the works that's behind the scenes right now. I can't go into it too much,
Okay.
but it is going to be good. So if everybody will bear with us for a little bit, but we'll have the website back up soon. It's 13-paranormal.com. The website, but yeah, you can find us on Facebook, Twitter. Well, it's X now. Facebook, X, Instagram. We're on TikTok now. I think the only thing we're not on right now is Snapchat.
Okay. Yeah, we'll make sure we link all of that in the notes. So if people want to look you guys up, they have access to that.
Okay.
Sure.
That'd be awesome. Yeah, because like I said, I mean, I know a lot of people will have a lot of people that I've felt the investigations that I've done, they just want validation. That to know that they're not going crazy. And either way, we're not going to judge you on what you're experiencing. I mean, I guess it's because going back to where people has been told that these things don't exist, and for them to actually experiencing something makes them feel like they're alone or feel like they're going crazy. I really wish that that's not the issue, because I mean, we've been out in different places to try to get our name out there, and you still get the people that gives you the weird looks and try to stay away from you. But it's just these things are out there. I mean, there's things out there that we can't explain, and people need to know they're not alone in this.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and I think just kind of like shining a light on it. I mean, obviously for some people, like the people who immediately put their house on the market after they heard the EVPs, that was, that's what they needed to do for themselves. But I think for some people, like shining a light on it kind of helps like take away a little bit of the fear. Like I grew up in a haunted house and we had multiple investigative teams come over to our house, and it definitely, like what you said, it definitely helped us have the perception of like, okay, we're not crazy, we're not making this stuff up, these things are really happening, but I think also it helped us feel a little less afraid. There was more kind of explanations about what was going on, and it turned out not to be anything harmful or dangerous or anything like that. But
Right. And a lot of people needs to know too that if they do happen to call us in now, it's not sometimes if you haven't tried to communicate with it before, if you call a group in, more than likely it might get a little increase in activity because we're trying to communicate with it. So it might stir it up a little bit even after we leave. But that, like I said, we're not going to leave them alone. We'll be on call for them whenever they need us.
Yeah.
So because I know how scary it can be.
Yeah. That's interesting too. Like, so like as I just said, I grew up in a haunted house, but what was really interesting is like when my sister moved out, a lot of the stuff stopped happening. And she's a medium, but she's like kind of a reluctant medium. We kind of call her like a ghost magnet because wherever she goes, there's ghost activity happening. And my parents would say, like, if she was planning to come home for a visit, like a week before she came home, then activity would start stirring up, like as if they knew she was coming.
That's interesting. It's almost like they're part of the family.
Yeah, I mean, as she, like, some of her earliest memories are seeing what she used to call like the little green girl in her bedroom because she just looked green, but it was like a little ghost girl in her bedroom. And it took my parents a long time for them to like acknowledge what was happening, but like eventually once things like, when my sister and I were in high school and activity just kept happening and happening, they stopped being able to deny it. But like I said, it's very quiet in their house, for the most part, unless she's there. Thank you so much. This was a great conversation. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you for having me again as well. Thank you.
Absolutely.